What is something totally doable that you are looking forward to doing right when you take office?
Okay, and so that goes because I only talked about the one of the three that the first question asked, but this will take me to the third one, and it's a kind of novel idea I had, and it actually came from a senior citizen. She's a friend of mine here in San Pedro, and she just said, "Please, I so support you," and I helped her put in a urban garden in her front yard a few years ago with some kids, and she says, "Please, you need to help the elderly." And so I thought, and I work with youth. And so one of the first things I would do is I would begin to give 10% of my salary to support programs that help bring youth and elderly together to solve their divergent problems, but with one solution. And tell me, San Pedro, tell me, Long Beach, if there's a program out there, I can start working with you, or if we're going to have to invent it on our own. But elderly have a problem with a huge problem of loneliness and with lack of dignity, because they have lived their life. They have so much experience, so much to offer, and no one's asking them and no one's including them. And I think that's just evil. And the youth have so much need and so much love and need of guidance. And I really want to bring youth and elderly together. And I'm willing to pay 10% of my salary. If that's legal, I hope it is, for me to fund my own kind of cool things.
Well, how are you going to do that?
Hmm?
How are you going to do that specifically? Like a program, or?
Yeah, it would be, I don't know, it can't be, it has to be controlled by we the people. But it may be around, Jesus. And like I said, if there's a program like that exists, or a youth program that's hearing me right now and says, wow, I see how we can include elderly, or an elderly program. How can we include the youth? I know people in Long Beach in the Gray Panthers. I'll bet they have some great ideas. One thing could be around gardening, urban farming. I take my students out a lot, and we talk with seniors and about seniors who are from the World War II era, and they remember the victory gardens, and they have a lot of knowledge about when food was grown everywhere, that it wasn't some kind of novelty, that it was about survival and being there for your country. And so that's maybe a place I would start. Also, there's another cool model I've heard of is, of course, young people need housing. And there are models where young people have been housed in elderly homes, and what they do is they give 30 hours a week of service in that elder home, and they get housing. So
That's a fantastic idea.
yeah. So everything like that. I'm an outside of the box kind of thinker, and I subscribe to Yes Magazine, just super ideas.
It's up in the Northwest, right?
I think so. Yeah. Mother Earth News. So that's kind of where I get, and this great blog that I hope your listeners could get onto. It's called Resilience, and it's resilience.org. And I come from like a peak oil perspective and a curtailment of energy use, and how are we really going to do this? So outside the box thinking.
So basically, to sort of give a Cliff Note summary, you would want to kind of instill some programs that have economic and community benefits that would also, as a cyclical effect, kind of bridge together different generations and build a stronger community.
Yes, and I think that, and this is the way I think. It's just me, or maybe my engineering background, environmental engineering, that I'm a problem solver, but we don't have time, and it's kind of boring to solve one problem at a time. I think with a solution, you need to be solving 2 or 3 problems at the same time. So we would be bringing all that, addressing all of that. And I have a lot of time in Latin America, so maybe I've seen a lot of intergenerational work, and it's nothing new to me. It's a great way to go.
Well, no, I think it's a really important thing, because we see so much of these, you see so many stigmas going on, especially towards the younger generation. And that's always been a thing, when the baby boomers were the younger generation, the generation before them did it to them. And then now the baby boomers are doing it to the millennials. And now everybody else is doing it to Gen Y, which I think is so ridiculous. I think that this next generation, I think they're going to take us back to outer space. I think the young people right now are incredibly mobilized. I think they're paying attention. I think they're going to be very much engaged. I think they already are, and they have to be. I think that when people kind of crap on this generations and Tide Pods and blah blah, I think that's just straight up propaganda. And this is coming from someone who toured colleges up until recently, pretty much full time. And I just think a lot of those stigmas are nonsense. The truth is, every generation has people that are really engaged and people that aren't, people that are lazy and people that aren't, people that are, you kind of get a little bit of everything because that's how the world works. And yeah, inclusory things are only positive.
Well, yeah, just, there's so much to say on that. I think of Malcolm X saying, first you break a man's legs and then you call him a crippled. First you just totally disempower youth and disengage them and give them crappy schools and violence all around them, and then they check out, and then you blame them for checking out. It's ridiculous. And like I said, I've been a teacher all my life. I've been a high school teacher the last 12 years. And I tell my students all the time, I say, when I talk to you, we're talking about sustainability and a new way of looking things. And I say, I talk to all of you and you all get it. I say, if I said the same thing in a room full of adults, half of them would be arguing with me. And so, of course, we're going to attack the youth because they have huge hearts. I mean, I'm dealing with 16, 17-year-olds that when you show them a picture of like a little puppy in a, tied up in a backyard hungry, I mean, they're all practically in tears. Youth have big hearts. No wonder the kind of the capitalist, heartless media is gonna try and crush that because they have different solutions. So very much. And I like how you mentioned, the generation, what, Y, did you say? I'm from so-called Generation X. And what they said about us is they said, basically, we came after the ones that cared, the anti-Vietnam, era. And supposedly we didn't care. Well, we grew up under Ronald Reagan. And a lot of us cared a lot. And so I actually kind of wrote a song, and one of the lines was, we're supposedly Generation X. Who said that anyway? Nobody's going to write my text. Like, you can't
What kind of music do you play?
Just hippie folk, guitar. I haven't had a lot of time in the United States, but when I was in the Peace Corps for 3 years and back in Honduras, so country beleaguered by U.S. foreign policy. And I played a lot of guitar back then. So guitar.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.
Well, no, I mean, what attracted me to San Pedro initially when I got to town is like I'm a big punk rocker, so Mike Watt was why I wanted to check out Pedro initially, and I think it's an excellent location for all the stuff you're talking about. I can totally understand why you connect with that place. When I first got there, I wasn't sure what to think. And then eventually I was just like, and coming from me, this is a good thing. Other people might say the same thing and mean it in a bad way, but I mean it in a really good way. Pedro is like Detroit with a coastline. And this is coming from someone who Detroit is one of my favorite cities, where it's very communal. It's very much like it has a certain grit authenticity to it. And I really, really love that. I mean, me and my girlfriend, we live in Pasadena. We love it here. I love Pasadena. But one thing we mutually agree on is eventually we want to live closer to the water, you know, at some point when you know, life is at a point where it makes sense. And Pedro's on our short list because, yeah, I really do love that community a lot. So so we only got a few more minutes here. I'm going to give you a couple quick rapid fire questions. Okay. How do you feel about Jerry Brown's water project restructuring the Delta to bring water down to Southern California?
Yeah, well, I was just working with a local campaign in LA. It's called Our Water Campaign, and everyone should check it out. What we're doing, and I got my students involved also, is we're trying to pressure the Board of Supervisors in the County of Los Angeles to look more into water reclamation projects that also restore nature around the cities. And that's a huge part of my platform is the restoration of nature in our cities. We can do a lot of things with bioswales to capture the water we have now. Instead of cementing over all our properties, we need to be de-cementing. As a matter of fact, we need to be making bioswales, catching with water with rainwater, and doing everything we can to sink and fill our aquifers and reuse our water here. So that's the kind of local issue. I am not for the tunnels in any way, and so I think that that is a big boondoggle, and I'm not for the bullet train either. I don't think that we should be spending our money on either one of those huge infrastructure projects.
So last question here. And by the way, Pat, thank you for your super chat contribution. A couple people were saying that they'd like to see a political debate between your dogs and my cat, Lucy. She's kind of a character on the show. My cat,
well,
Lucy.
My dogs love cats, so.
All right. I mean, they might. I mean, I don't know where their leanings are, but Lucy is, you know, she is a socialist feminist poet. So I don't know. I don't know if they'd agree on a lot of. She's a bit of a character, and she voted for Jill Stein in 2016. My cat Lucy did. So so they might have a lot of agreement depending on where your dogs lean. But last question: do you support or oppose Elon Musk's Pravda idea where we can rate the credibility of journalists? That's the kind of specific thing going on in the news.
Rate the credibility of journalists.
Yeah, if you're not familiar, Elon Musk, and I think they already abandoned this idea, by the way, but Elon Musk proposed this website they were going to have where they were going to allow people to rate the credibility of journalists and of news sites. And I personally was not for it. While I understand fake news and propaganda and all that, I don't know why some corporate CEO needs to be the enforcer. I kind of thought that Elon Musk and you know, maybe their intentions are in the right place, but I don't really feel like it's the corporatocracy's place to do that. I don't feel like it's Mark Zuckerberg's place either, especially not him. But that was my take on it. Okay,
so the kind of roundabout answer, I don't know about that actual issue, but we're not super Elon Musk fans in my family or in this household because he's an elitist. We need, you know, I'm all for the space program, always have been. My dad taught me to love astronomy and be for the space program, but you don't send a big, you know, your roadster up on a rocket and you know, try and wow everyone when we have so much suffering here on Earth. One time when we were talking about exploring Mars, my daughter was very small, and she said, why? I said, well, you know, people think we might live there someday. And she said, but Earth is perfect. And I thought, wow, out of the mouths of babes, you know, we need to be doing a lot. His whole tunnel idea, I think, is crazy and elitist. And I would like to know the climate impact. So everything that's going on in terms of his big projects, I want to ask him, what are the climate impacts of all of that? So,
yeah. So I mean, I
have an electric vehicle myself, so I'm all for EVs. But the best thing we can do for transportation to help pollution is not electric and all the best thing we can do is localize our economies so that people are traveling less to their work. That's the best thing we can do for pollution and for traffic and everything like that.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on another show that I help out with called Aggressive Progressives, and my basic thesis was, look, when it comes to this issue, we don't need some big corporate elitists, as you put, kind of telling us what we should and shouldn't read. What we need are really strong media watchdogs that are really doing the work, more fairs and stuff like that. We are out of time, so please use our remaining few minutes to tell people where they can learn more about you, and you know. Go ahead, plug yourself.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, that went quick. So yeah, you can look for me at Rachel, Rachel, Rachel for Assembly, the number 4 .org. I also have a Facebook page. If I forget exactly the name, but it's Rachel Bruhnke for California Assembly District 70, something like that. We have a lot of things. Bueno, muy rápido en español. Mañana, el sábado, vamos a estar en la comunidad de Rancho San Pedro, which is a housing project. Y yo tengo mi literatura todo en español y vamos a estar hablando con la gente ahí. Entonces, si me deja un mensaje, if you leave me a message, if you speak Spanish maybe, y quiere ayudarme, you want to help out, vamos a ir ahí mañana. Yeah, and then we're just getting the vote out and waiting for Tuesday.
Real quick here, because we just had one last super chat come in. Do you support publicly financed elections?
Absolutely. Yeah. And no corporate money and publicly financed. Yeah. And just low key, you know, the airwaves literally above in our air in America are free. They're the public's, and they've been so privatized and so corporatized. We need to be seen instead of nonsense television and nonsense media. We need to be seeing real issues discussed for free on the airwaves.
Amen. Rachel, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's a different type of show to do. It's a lot of rapid fire, but you did absolutely great, guys. Thank you for so many excellent questions once again. RachelForAssembly.org. That's Rachel, the number 4, Assembly.org. She's running for Assembly District 70 here in California. That's your district. You know what to do on June 5th. This has been Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. We will be back Tuesday at 10 a.m. We do this every Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, unless otherwise noted. I know sometimes my tour schedule mixes that up a bit, but we'll totally be back on Tuesday. Until then, you guys have a great weekend. The Progressive Comedy Tour, Graham Elwood and I are coming to the Southeast June 20th through 24th. We're going to be in Nashville, Huntsville, Louisville, Asheville, Atlanta. Get your tickets at ronplacone.com. And you guys know the drill, patreon.com/ronplacone if you are so able. For a pay-what-you-can level, you get all kinds of exclusive perks, you get all kinds of exclusive content, and you help me build this show and expand. You guys are amazing. Rachel, thank you once again. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Onward to November. Thank you.